This is the legal breakdown on what you need to know about the tariff decision that was made by the Federal Court of Appeals a few days ago, and why it was determined that the president didn't have powers to impose tariffs. So first, number one, what you need to know is that under the Constitution, the power to impose taxes, and which is referred to tariffs, is by Congress. So what happened in this case is the president, in his executive orders, used a statute called the International Economic Power Law, essentially. And what that law says is that if there's like a state of emergency regarding another country, the president has power to impose restrictions on goods. So in the past, what presidents have used that statute for is to impose sanctions, to say that, hey, you can't have any of this stuff coming into the country, can't have any of this stuff coming out of your country with a foe. So that's what he used, and he issued a bunch of executive orders saying that, hey, we've got these emergency issues. We have drug problems in Mexico. We have an emergency issue with Canada, and we have drug issues with China. And so he claimed that that was a national emergency, invoking this statute. But what the Court of Appeals came out with, they said that this statute doesn't apply to tariffs. There's nothing in the statute that says anything about tariffs or taxes. It just says if there's a national emergency, you can do certain things, but has nothing to do with imposing tariffs. And it did say that there are some statutes that have authorized the president to impose tariffs or do certain things with tariffs under specific circumstances. So Congress has essentially delegated their power to the president for tariffs, but none of those statutes apply. So in the end, they said that this statute has nothing to do with tariffs that you use to impose tariffs, and so all tariffs. So what you did was unlawful. So now it's going to go to the Supreme Court. It's going to be up to the Supreme Court to decide whether or not this gives the president to impose tariffs or not. My thinking is no. I don't think that the Supreme Court would side with the president on this, because they would have to make so many determinations. I mean, they would have to determine that, yes, this isn't a national emergency regarding Canada, which would be hard for them to say that Canada is a national emergency, given that they're our ally. And I think what President Trump was trying to argue was, oh, well, the trade disparity, it's a national emergency because of the trade disparity, but that's really not an argument, and that's really a power for Congress. I mean, if the Supreme Court was to reverse this decision, it would be huge, because they would be giving the president so much taxing power. And I don't think that Supreme Court would pull the trigger in giving an executive branch so much power under just one decision. So I don't think the Supreme Court would reverse the decision here. I've seen a lot of articles saying too that, okay, now the executive branch has to return all that money. I haven't seen the original case and pleadings. I mean, it could possibly be so if there was like a civil rights lawsuit, possibly there could be some kind of restitution, but there are just some plaintiffs in this case. It's just a couple companies and then a bunch of states. And so maybe the plaintiffs could get their money back, but I mean, they'd have to certify it as a class action. I don't think they could certify it as class action. So I don't see any of this money coming back to companies except for the plaintiffs. And another interesting thing is the states that filed suit as well. I mean, I think the biggest state that would want to step in would be Michigan, given the car maker industry and how that would affect their cars, but Michigan didn't step in and sue. And I think it was just a political thing. No conservative or near conservative state wanted to be involved in this. And so it was more liberal states that came in and sued. Arizona sued, which is interesting because they're kind of a swingish state, and maybe they're more liberal now. But it also doesn't seem like the states really even had standing, though, to bring a lawsuit. I think only the actual plaintiffs could bring a lawsuit, but but that could be an interesting issue that the Supreme Court could take up as well, is they could say that, oh, well, these states and or individuals don't even have standing to sue the president, and or the president has some kind of immunity from getting sued on this. So then the question is, who has to bring forward a suit? Does it have to be Congress? Does it have to be the Department of Justice? I don't know. So, I mean, possibly the Supreme Court could could say that everything was fine on a technicality and or not rule on anything because of a technicality. So that's it in summary, the tariff wars.